I shall now give the floor to Mr. Josh Simmons, speaking on behalf of the United States of America. Sir, you have the floor.
Good morning, and thank you, Mr. President, Madam Vice President, and members of the Court. It is an honor to appear before you today on behalf of the United States of America. The ongoing conflict in Gaza is a critical issue for the international community. This week, many speakers have focused on the factual circumstances of that conflict. They have voiced significant concerns about the flow of humanitarian assistance into Gaza. You have also heard concerns about Israel's decision to cease engagement with UNRWA. You have heard little, however, about the serious and credible concerns about Hamas misusing UNRWA's facilities and humanitarian assistance. You have also heard little of Israel's security needs after the terrorist attacks on October 7, 2023. These security needs persist today. Many hostages, including Americans, are still being wrongfully held in horrendous conditions. These are grave circumstances, and they warrant careful attention. But the General Assembly's expedited request, and therefore this advisory proceeding, focuses solely on a request to identify legal obligations. It is not about adjudicating the facts or determining legal consequences. The United States submits that what is before the court is a legal question consisting of two narrow legal issues, and that the answers are clear under well-established rules of international law. These answers would apply regardless of the particular state under consideration. The first issue focuses on the obligations of an occupying power, and the second focuses on the obligations of a UN member state.
I will now invite the next participating delegation, Hungary, to address the court, and I give the floor to Ambassador Ilgu Kutic.
Mr. President, Madam Vice President, distinguished members of the Court, it is an honor to appear before you today on behalf of Hungary concerning the case Obligations of Israel in relation to the presence and activities of the United Nations, other international organizations, and third states in and in relation to the occupied Palestinian territory. Allow us to take this opportunity to express Hungary's commitment to the principal judicial forum of the United Nations that plays a fundamental role in the field of international law. During its 80 years long history, the Court has contributed significantly to the strengthening of the rules-based international order. The increasing number of states submitting their disputes to the Court's adjudication and the unprecedented workload of the Court reflects the trust of states both in the Court's mandate and in the quality of its work. It is of great importance to maintain the confidence in the work of the Court and to abstain from proceedings that may erode that confidence and may create a situation where the Court becomes an actor in an ongoing conflict. The government of Hungary recognizes the importance of the numerous proceedings for an advisory opinion and the potential impact that they have on the prospects for peace and stability in the Middle East. When discussing the issue of the advisory opinion proceedings and the question posed to the Court within the request at hand, one must reflect upon the broader political context, taking into account the dimensions of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Although the current proceeding aims to address specific issues of international law obligations with regards to a member state of the United Nations, The pattern of politicization of international judicial fora cannot be disregarded when examining this case before the esteemed court. Hungary recalls that in 2004, this esteemed court clearly stated in its advisory opinion concerning the construction of a wall that the resolution of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict can only be achieved through direct negotiations between the parties on the basis of international law and through the implementation of the relevant Security Council resolutions. Since 2004, this original approach has not changed, although numerous aspects of the political context have shifted. The horrendous terrorist attack conducted against Israel by Hamas on 7 October 2023 was a turning point. Hungary strongly condemns these horrific terrorist attacks and calls for the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages. Since then, Israel has been fighting the terrorist organization Hamas with the aim to prevent such monstrous terrorist attacks ever happening again.
I now invite the next participating delegation, the Russian Federation, to take the floor, and I call Mr. Maxim Mishkin to the podium. You have the floor, sir.
Mr. President, Madam Vice President, members of the Court, it is an honor to address the Court, the principal judicial organ of the United Nations, on behalf of the Russian Federation. Today, we confront a crisis of legality and humanity in light of systematic undermining of the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine refugees by Israel and its negligence towards the overall obligations under international law, including those stemming from the status of Israel as an occupying power. The urgency of this matter cannot be overstated. Gaza balances on the brink of famine, hospitals lie in ruins, millions of Palestinians in the Strip, as well as in the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, face existential despair. Mr. President, the General Assembly's request for an advisory opinion, adopted by 137 states in Resolution 79/232, is based on Article 96 of the UN Charter and Article 65 of the ICJ Statute. These articles provide for the advisory jurisdiction of the Court. Some states, including Israel, in their written statements, have argued that this request is politically charged, concerns bilateral relations, and the subject of the ongoing proceedings between South Africa and Israel on application of the Genocide Convention. This is not the first time the Court considers the relevant aspects of the conflict between Israel and Palestine. The Court's 2004 Wall Advisory Opinion and 2024 Opinion on the Policies and Practices of Israel in the Occupied Palestinian Territory, including East Jerusalem, established irrefutable precedents. In 2004, the Court affirmed that Israel's construction of the wall violated international humanitarian law. In 2024, it reaffirmed Israel's status as an occupying power in the Palestinian territory, including the Gaza Strip. These opinions constitute a solid foundation for facilitating peace in the region and ensuring the rights of Palestinians to self-determination, as well as providing for legal qualification of Israeli actions. Israel's October 2024 laws revoking UNRWA's immunities, criminalizing its staff, and seizing its assets constitute a violation of this framework. In no way do the provisions of the UN Convention of 1946 allow the unilateral revocation of privileges and immunities. The privileges and immunities of the United Nations play an important role in ensuring the functioning of this organization. They are necessary to fulfill the basic functions of the United Nations, such as maintaining peace and security, promoting international cooperation, and protecting human rights. Privileges and immunities allow the United Nations to carry out its activities freely, without fear of persecution by states or individuals. This ensures the independence and impartiality of the organization in carrying out its tasks. Israel's legislation is not merely unlawful, it is an attack on the UN fundamental principles. If tolerated, it sets a very dangerous precedent for states to dismantle any UN agency they deem inconvenient. Within the broader context of Arab-Israeli conflict, it is necessary to highlight that other UN structures, UNFIL and UNDOF in Lebanon and Syria, have also been negatively affected and obstructed by Israeli invasions and continued unlawful military presence. In a more broad context, United Nations and missions of states to the UN were also impacted. There were numerous violations by Biden and the Obama administrations of the agreement regarding the headquarters of the United Nations of 1977 and the UN Convention of 1946. Part of the official premises of the Russian mission in the United Nations in New York was blocked. Issuance of visas of the state representatives for meetings under the auspices of the United Nations and of the UN staff members of specific nationality was deliberately hindered. Movement restrictions were put into effect. Similar violations regarding issuance of visas are committed by France as the host country of UNESCO. The erosion of privileges and immunities strikes at the heart of multilateralism, undermining the UN's capacities. Mr. President, Madam Vice President, members of the Court, this case transcends legal technicalities. UNRWA's collapse would not only doom millions of Palestinians, it would shatter the credibility of the UN system.